We need to talk on the Oscars just a hot second while it's still relevant.
Yes.
I don't have a ton to say on this. This is going to be more of a tangent than a segment, I think. I think good job, Oppenheimer. You won a bunch of awards. I'm surprised.
Same with Zone of Interest. I'm very happy. They won the sound. They won international film.
You
Very
mentioned
happy
that.
about
I thought of you when they were winning sound. I was like, yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah,
Steve
had
said.
to be. Had to be.
I was surprised that Barbie didn't win very much of anything, and I was even more surprised that the internet didn't really care that Barbie didn't win anything. At least none of the ports on the internet that I visit.
And like I'm okay with it because I think people needed to realize you can have a really good, entertaining movie, but it's just not Oscar caliber.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that line is starting to fade a little bit to what is like. What people don't realize is that the best picture list is so long because people were like, well, why isn't there a movie that I liked on there? And so they did it to put movies that were successful.
Yeah. Even
though this isn't an Oscar caliber. Like, you can like it. I rewatched Barbie. It's fine. Like, I have nothing against it, but it's not an Oscar-worthy movie.
I think it is in the new mold of the Black Panther, the Joker, a movie that was very popular and populist.
Yeah. Well, see, the Joker, I think, is different.
Because it is the same for boys, except that it's for boys.
No, because that one isn't necessarily a, like, pop culture-y movie. It's like that, you could have named it anything.
Uh-huh.
You could have named it Clown.
I call it Taxi Driver and King of Comedy.
Exactly.
That's what I call it.
Where Black Panther has great performances, but it's a superhero movie, and it's big and flashy, and lots of... Barbie has some great performances in it. Like, I still think Ferrera should have won Best Supporting Actress.
I'm not angry that she didn't, but I was so, like, I kind of want to see her win this.
Because in rewatching Barbie, which I did recently with my daughter, everything stood out again, where Ryan Gosling enjoyed his performance.
Yeah.
Great. All the Kens really enjoyed him. Margot Robbie, great job. But America Ferrera is by far the best performance.
She's the moment you remember most in the movie.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And her speech before I don't like how they kind of turned her speech into, you got to tell it to everybody, because then it kind of took away from it. But her first speech in the Odd Barbies thing was awesome. It was so good.
It's part of that whole section of the movie that I wish they had just done one or two more passes on. Mm-hmm. I heard a really great review on Welcome to the Basement. If you go back a few weeks, they had Deb Hurst was a guest host, and she had a great review of Barbie where she talked about how it was not so much about the female fantasy of it all, but it was about watching grown women being able to play with toys and see how actions and reactions happen, how one thing can lead to another, even if you don't necessarily intend for that to happen, and just kind of like it is adults playing with toys and learning the world through toys. And that framing of it, I was like, I hadn't really thought about it that way. I had thought about it just in the purely 1-to-1 ratio of like they say one thing and then it presents as another. I hadn't really thought about it in the sense of like playing and realizing and understanding and learning. So that was I like that interpretation of it. I still have issues with that part of Barbie just because like I
gotta say, all the criticisms you and I had about the ending of that movie, 1,000% were still there. How they converted, instead of trying to be better than the patriarchy, they're like, we'll just be like
we'll just do our own version of the
patriarchy. No, you had the opportunity. You fucking blew it, damn it.
Yeah. I still find that deeply frustrating.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing, is that by the end of Barbie, they answer all of my questions. And for the most part, I don't mind the answers. I was a little annoyed that I had to wait so long for some of them. But then some of them, I really didn't like the answers that they gave me. And I was just like, why is Will Ferrell in this movie?
Once again, it was so bad.
Why is Will Ferrell in this movie?
Like, half of the board of Mattel is women, and they showed the all-male board.
Yeah.
It's like, but that's not reality right now. And I understand that's the thought you're trying to get
And that was
through,
reality for a long time, but it's not anymore.
Yeah, so if they like had the board taking place like in the 60s or 70s, and that's the theme, have like a 60s, 70s theme to the movie, different
if this
story.
took place in a period where that made more sense, but instead it was just this
weird.
If it was one thing where it was just a joke, where she goes to the board of Barbie and then that's it. It's just this one-off scene where she just goes there, she meets Will Ferrell, ha ha ha, and then that's it. And it's just, every once in a while we cut back to the factory to see how various things in Barbie are impacting the factory. And Will Ferrell is just not a character in the rest of the movie. But the fact that he just keeps on coming back in the movie without any real purpose or reason, it's just so frustrating. And you're just like, God, what is the point of this? And then on top of it, I have to deal with some of this stuff that I don't care for. And in the end, all I can look at is this pointless nonsense and this thing that I didn't find satisfying and say, why can't we figure out how to take some of this pointless nonsense and use it to help fill in the gaps of the stuff that I didn't find satisfying.
And this time really jumped out at me. I think they missed an opportunity of having that ending instead of her going to her gynecologist, having her and America Ferrera walking into the board, and they're on the board of Mattel.
See, I like the gynecologist scene. That was honestly was honestly one of the things that I thought about in that scene with I can never remember her name. I always think her name is Ruth Wilson, but I don't think it is. The woman was on Cheers who I can't remember her name.
Rhea Perlman.
Yes, Rhea Perlman. When she has that scene and she's talking to Barbie about what it means to actually become a woman, there was a moment where I was watching and I was like, and we haven't even gotten to the reproductive system yet. And then they address it in the very last line of the movie. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. That's great. So I like that scene. Okay. I didn't need Barbie to become the CEO of Barbie Industries.
No, I didn't say CEO, but like just on the board.
And I thought that this was fine. I honestly, the less time we spent with the board, the better, in my opinion. I just could not care less.
Oh yeah, they were terrible.
And so I was more interested in the interns having to run down the mystery Scooby Gang style than the hilarious antics of Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that was our Barbie tangent.
Anyway, Ken performed his Kenliness,
which was awesome. I didn't, because he had Slash, and I didn't realize that Wolfgang Van Halen was also on stage.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. So he had Mark Robinson, Slash, and Wolfgang Van Halen play, and then he had Simon Liu and
they had
Doctor
all
Who,
the Kens.
like all the Kens. Like that was awesome.
Yeah.
Just Jimmy Kimmel's not funny. Like, I'll be honest, I turned off the Oscars after like halfway through the monologue because it was so cringy bad.
It's really bad.
It was so
really,
bad.
Really bad. Things I like about the Oscars. I like that they started an hour earlier so that they actually had time to play with. When has the Oscars ever actually had time to play with? Because they had to wrap up by 11, but they didn't start until 8. And they put it an hour earlier. Now you have all this time to play with. If you go to 11, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
We already knew that was a possibility. And if you just go to 10:30, look at you. You're half an hour early. Like, they had all this time to the point where Jimmy Kimmel is literally just talking about how much time they have to vamp. And I'm just watching him being like, I don't hate you as a person. There have been a lot of moments where I applaud Jimmy Kimmel for things that he said and people he stood up to. God damn it, you're so bad tonight.
You're so bad.
Like, just so bad all night, the entire night.
Yeah.
There's a great clip of him saying a joke about Poor Things, and then it cuts to the cast of Poor Things, and Emma Stone, you can read her lips, just turns to her husband and says, he's a prick. That was the entire night for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so you dunked on Orange Bastard. Ooh, good for you.
Yeah.
Like, who fucking cares?
It was so bad. And it was cringy. Like there's a lot of cringy moments. And my wife and I talked about this. Back in the day with the Oscars, the funny people were funny. The not funny people would come out and just give a straight either acceptance speech or like handing out the awards. Everyone tries to be funny now. And it's like, even the funny people aren't fucking funny. Like, Melissa McCarthy came out. I love Melissa McCarthy. Hers wasn't funny at all.
There were moments.
It was her and Octavia Spencer, but the funniest part was Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito coming out.
That was the best part.
That was the best part of the whole night.
That was made great by Michael Keaton's reaction. That was the part that was funny. It wasn't just Schwarzenegger and DeVito coming out and doing twins and also bringing up Batman. It was having Keaton there and having him slowly go,
and he intentionally brought the ascot to put on for that.
Yeah.
Because he said I looked a little more Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And it was perfect.
It was so good.
It was so fucking good.
And it just, like, that was my favorite part of the night outside of the awards themselves. The awards themselves are always fun to see people.
Dude, people got to listen to Joe Pesci more, though.
In what sense?
His acceptance speech when he won his Oscar "It was my pleasure," and then he walked
He
off
just
the
left.
stage. That's all he said was, "It was my pleasure."
See, I like it when people give the big speech because this is the night that they get a chance to really do that. They get a chance
man,
to
they
say
go
thank
too
you to
much
all their
sometimes,
teachers and
though.
everything. And I really like the first woman, I can't remember her name, who won over...
The supporting actress, yes.
Where she forgot to thank her publicist, and they came back and let her thank her publicist, except that nobody at home could hear who her publicist was because they didn't have a mic on her.
See, and I would like it better if they just stuck to like family, friends, teachers, things like that. But then they got to go on these lists of people.
I mean, I get it.
But it's like if you are making a movie and you're behind the scenes and you're like in the higher echelon and you are so insecure that you need somebody to say your name on national TV when they get an award, fuck yourself.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I think it's more like...
It drags it out, though.
It does. But I think it's more like these people think of it as a team. And it's like if the one person wins, then...
Say it afterwards.
Yeah, I guess.
You know what I mean?
But like it's the one night that they get to stand in front of the world and say thanks to everybody who helped me.
A lot of them though have won all their reward shows, and they say the same fucking
it's
thing.
True.
You know what I mean?
It's true. But
this
is the special one, Steve.
This is the special one.
This is the one people genuinely care about.
I keep watching the BAFTAs from now on.
Yeah. No, I was happy that Emma Stone won.
Yes,
that
very
made me
happy she won.
I felt bad for her that her dress broke.
That was awesome, though.
Yeah. Cillian Murphy, good job.
Yep.
You did it. You
Robert
heckin' did
Downey
it.
Jr.
Robert Downey
Iron Man
Jr.
1.
I do have a little bit of gripes with Robert Downey Jr. because, well, I'm happy for him and I'm going to let him finish. He really blew off Ki-Huy Kwan in a pretty substantial way.
He did.
And I get it. Your buddy Sam Rockwell is right there. But, like, if we're talking about having some grace and dignity...
Yeah.
Come on, it's short round. You got it. Come on, man.
That's true.
Come on. And so, like, that was a moment where I didn't see it at first, and I saw it on replay. So I was like, oh, that was a really douchey move.
Yeah.
Like, he's the nicest guy in Hollywood. He's getting his second chance. He's making the most of it. He's so nice to
and
everybody.
He's so talented too.
And you just blow him off.
Yeah,
and
that was a little d-baggy.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, Robert Downey Jr. has been known to
do that,
to be a d-bag.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a surprise.
I was waiting when Jimmy Kimmel kept on going on and on about his drug addiction days. I was waiting for. Do you remember back in the mid 2000s, around the time of Avengers, when he was on a BBC show? And the guy hosting the show kept on asking him about it, and he was like, "I don't want to talk about it." And he kept on pressing, and so he just got up and left.
Yeah, I remember that. Absolutely.
And I was waiting for that to happen. Of just Robert Downey Jr., you could see it on his face of just being like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Yep.
Shut the fuck up. Don't talk about shit you don't know anything about, man. Get my name out of your goddamn mouth.
Like the way you do it, I don't know if you remember the Golden Globes. It was a Ricky Gervais. I don't know if it was the first or second one. But he was reading off a list of Robert Downey Jr.'s movies, and they all do sound like porn movies.
Yeah.
Including Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Kiss Kiss
and
Bang
then
Bang.
He said,
I think Fur is one.
Yeah, the Wonder Boys, like two guys and a girl or something like that. So, and then he ends it with, so you've seen him from these movies and the Betty Ford Clinic. And it's like, that he said a quick little one thing and then walked off. And it's like, it's out of place, yes, and you don't need to really bring it up.
I mean,
but don't make it into a running joke like Kimmel did, like you're saying.
Well, and my thing is, like, how many alcoholics do you think there are in Hollywood that we don't even know about? Would it be chill for the host of the Oscars to do 10 minutes on how Matthew McConaughey is secretly an alcoholic? No, that'd be wildly uncool.
Yeah.
And I'm not sitting here saying Robert Downey Jr. is a saint. Far from it. But, like, we're talking about having some class. This is the classy, the class list thing you could have done. And it just, like, all night there were just moments like that.
I don't know what control. I know his show is on ABC and that's what the Oscars is on. They're treating him like he's Billy Crystal. It's like, no, he's not.
He's fucking not.
He's as far fucking from it. I'd almost rather watch that abomination that was James Franco and Anne Hathaway, which was terrible.
My favorite will always be Hugh Jackman. I still remember that entire show.
Yeah.
That's how good that fucking show was.
That was a good show.
It was a fucking amazing show with an incredible opener. He did an incredible job all night. So many amazing moments in that show.
Yeah.
And I will forever remember it.
Because they didn't make him be a comedian. They said, use your talents.
Yeah.
Which is singing and dancing and being charming.
That's the thing. He was funny, but more than funny, he was charming.
Exactly.
And so Kimmel no charm.
No.
No charm. We were talking about, I can't remember what character we were talking about in particular, but we were talking about a character who has all charisma. Bill Murray, as an actor in general. All charisma, no charm.
Yeah.
And that was Kimmel, except not even charismatic.
Or talent.
It's just annoying.
He's not fucking funny.
The whole night. Just all night long. So fucking annoying. And then he gets to dunk on Trump at the end of the night, and that's all anybody remembers.
Yeah.
But he was so obnoxious the whole fucking show.
Yeah.
The whole... Honestly, if he had offered anybody who forgot to mention somebody, we have 10 minutes, we'll pass the mic around and you can thank whoever you want, because whatever... Fine, that's something interesting that happened on this show. There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just this vast wasteland of nothing. And it's just terrible, terrible, terrible jokes. The whole bit with John Cena, which I find so funny how it's blowing up online. It's hilarious to me.
And it's like, I can understand them saying we want to revisit past things with the Oscars.
Yeah.
In today's day and age, with the way things are going nowadays, do you really want to bring a muscle-bound naked man onto the stage?
Is this the best idea we've had?
That was the worst fucking idea, and it wasn't funny.
And to have him be so vehemently uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's part of the performance, that's part of the joke, but the whole joke was how uncomfortable he was.
Yeah.
And that wasn't funny and did come off pretty tone deaf.
And the worst part is there was a lot of joking about, do you remember the whole thing with China and John Cena where he had to apologize? Yeah. And people were like, oh, he's such a whore, he'll do anything. This didn't help that.
No.
Because it's like, for any respected actor to say, yeah, I'll take my clothes off and walk out on stage with an envelope over my junk. It's
Can you imagine Schwarzenegger doing that in the 80s?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're talking about.
And he would never have
done that.
Nope.
And this was a man who lived and died in a Speedo at various points in his life. Never would have done it.
And he's trying to become this respected actor. It's like, that's maybe if you were still in WWE, that it would be passable. But it's like, no, dude.
No. He's trying to turn into this like college frat guy, comedy guy like Will Ferrell. I'll do anything for $5. And it's like,
Well, here's a good thing. Would The Rock do it?
Yeah.
Somebody that's in the exact same boat he is, almost the same age, would Batista do it?
Yeah.
Dave Batista? No. Neither one of them would fucking do it.
No.
And Cena's bigger than Dave Batista is now, but Batista would still not fucking do it.
No. I did want to mention two more things about the Oscars really quick. The In Memoriam I found very frustrating just because it was entirely hard to focus on.
Yeah, it always is.
There was just like, but like usually they at least have the decency to fill the screen with the In Memoriam, so you can kind of, this was like, we had a back of the auditorium in the balcony view of all these different screens changing.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was bad. It came off as unclassy. Again, this whole idea of the show was not very classy.
Yeah.
It came off as small and not, I don't want to say petty because it wasn't emotional, but that's the problem. It wasn't emotional. It was very disarming to have it set up this way. And then we need, I get it, royalty. We all love royalty, right? Maybe not the English.
Oh, Pacino.
Probably not the Indians. Not a huge fan of royalty. What the fuck was Al Pacino's whole thing?
Yeah.
Like, as if Kimmel's previous joke about making sure we tore up the Emma Stone envelopes so that we didn't have a repeat of fucking...
La La Land.
Yeah. You have this, and like, I honestly, when he announced it, I was like, so who won? Were you going to announce the nominees, or did Oppenheimer? I guess Oppenheimer won, and then I'm waiting there for the La La Land moment for one of the producers to pick up the envelope and be like, oh,
no, it was Poor Things.
We didn't win.
Yeah.
Why are we up here? And it's just, please stop. Yeah. Let these old men sit in the balcony in a box seat of whatever kind you want. Please do not give them envelopes anymore. Yeah. This must stop.
And like, kind of thing where they're all disheveled and it looks like shit. It's like, dude,
was he drunk?
You tell me you couldn't get George Clooney
to come
out and fucking open an envelope, or Brad Pitt, or somebody who's in that 50 to 60-year-old range who's distinguished, but...
Have Spielberg just stick around on stage and do it. He still has enough of his functions and acuities to be able to do bits in the audience with Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer in a bit that may or may not be funny. But, like, he still can do it.
Yeah.
Pacino looked either drunk or old, or old. Like, I don't know what his whole thing was, but he looked like he was having some problems.
Yeah, and it was It is embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for them. It's embarrassing as an audience to watch. It's not fun. Nobody's enjoying it. It'd be like if you made the Queen of England give a speech before she died and she was just barely making through it and she was just kind of mumbling every third word and you were just like...
Next month he turns 84 fucking years old.
This is what I'm saying.
You don't need to get him.
Let him go. Let him be in the corner. Just give him a rest. If you did this to Robin Williams if he hadn't passed and Robin Williams was still around and you did this to him, I would be so mad. Yeah. You fucking assholes. Give him a break. I don't even like Al Pacino. I have no fondness for Al Pacino. Don't do this. Whatever you're doing, don't do this.
Yeah.
And my last note on the Oscars, I feel so bad for Wes Anderson, who finally won after all this time, and he just started a project in Germany, so he's not here and he can't be here because he literally started the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh.
It's nice that he got his Oscar, but it's also sad that it's for a short film and not for the masterpieces that he's made over the years. You know?
I still think he should have won it for Grand Budapest.
Oh, absolutely.
Of all the movies that were up that year, looking back on it, Birdman, great movie. Love and Henry 2, visionary, amazing stuff. This was the movie that just stuck around all year. Everybody loved it. And
to this day, I still want to burn the house down for Ray Fiennes not winning Best Actor. That was one of the best performances.
He's amazing in it.
Yeah,
he's amazing. Like
unbelievably
I can never get over the various scenes where he's interrupted on a train car.
Yeah,
all of them are so good. And just like the way that he tries to compose himself, and then you see that little rumble at the top of the pot. And then it goes back down, and then it comes back up again, and it's just so good in these little nuanced ways. Yeah. It's such a good movie.
It's such a great movie.
And it got people into art film for like half a year.
Yeah,
long enough for people to care about Boyhood later on in the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the end of my Oscar spiel.
Yeah, fuck the Oscars. And it's sad too because I was telling people at work, it used to be my Super Bowl. I used to take off the Sunday. I used to get food, no distractions, and now it's like I could give a shit.
It was the big deal for me. It was akin to a sporting event. Yeah. I would go the 2 weeks before the Oscars, and the Saturdays before them, I would go with Kelly and watch all of the Best Picture nominees because they ran them in New York at a theater. And so you could just buy an all-day pass and go and see all these movies. It was usually 4 or 5 movies. And I did that religiously for years. And then the pandemic happened, and I just kind of moved away from it. And then on top of it, I just like look at how the Oscars have comported themselves the last few years. And I'm like, this is not great.
No,
this is not great.
And I don't know if they still do, because I haven't gotten a newspaper in like 20 years. But back in the day when Jack Gardner was the film critic, they used to have the Oscar ballot that you would cut out of the paper, fill it in, mail it back in, and then whoever got the best would get like movie tickets or something. But that was awesome. Like that was like filling out your brackets for the NCAA. You're like, I'm gonna pick this, and then I would go into school. I'm like, who'd you pick for Best Picture? Oh, blah blah blah, and like everyone cared about it.
I still remember the one year I did it with you guys at MCC, and I went into acting class, and I saw Wahaibi, and I was like, oh, who won? And he just like his face fell, and I was like, oh no, Kevin won. I was like, no, you won. I was like, I won?
That's right.
What do you mean I won? I picked bullshit. Like 90% of it was just bullshit and guesses. But hey,
that is most of the Oscars sometimes. It's just bullshit and guesses. So.
Yeah.